Hello and welcome to CMS Forex News. I'm Nick Nassad. Today is June 4th, 2008. In Australia, the services sector continued to show contraction in May, though the 49.7 reading was closer to the 50 boom-bust level. The combination of rising fuel costs, high interest rates, and declining new orders restrained activity in May, offsetting modest increases in sales and employment. Australia posted better than expected results for its first quarter GDP. The economy grew 0.6% for the quarter, and its 3.6% annualized pace was higher than forecasted. Almost all components of domestic demand were stronger than expected. The Australian dollar-US dollar pair saw an immediate reaction to the better than expected GDP data. The pair climbed 130 pips overnight and into New York trading, reaching an intraday high at 0.9627. Policy members have said that moderating growth will help ease inflation. However, the results today show that perhaps higher rates will be necessary in order to actually slow inflation. In the UK, the nationwide Consumer Confidence Index fell to 69, a new record low for the survey which started in May 2004. Expectations, however, for an even bigger fall. Consumers lowered their views of the current economic condition as higher prices cut into incomes and weakness in the housing market persists. The services sector in the UK fell into contraction in May, with the services PMI falling to 49.8. The report comes on the heels of a poor manufacturing PMI release earlier in the week and shows that conditions in the UK are deteriorating. Activity in the services sector has been steadily declining the last 4 months, with 3 reports in a row coming in below forecasts. The pound was pressured against its main rivals today, as stocks in London tumbled about 1.4% for the session. At the European Open, the pound-yen pair fell 180 pips to find support near 204.50. The pair is starting to form a range after sliding around 400 pips in Monday's session. The final release of Eurozone services matched the preliminary release of 50.6. In April, the PMI showed a reading of 52. This level matches a 4.5-year low that we saw back in January. Drops were led by industries such as banking and telecommunications, as consumers have tightened their wallets in response to higher inflation and higher credit costs. Another indication of consumers' reluctance to spend in this tougher environment was April's retail sales numbers, which heavily disappointed. Sales fell 0.6% for the month and were down 2.9% for the year. With inflation eating into consumers' purchasing power, their response has been to cut back on spending. In the U.S., labor costs were up 2.2% and productivity was up 2.6% for the first quarter, revised data showed. Firms managed to cut jobs without losing productivity. The ADP employment change increased 40,000 from April to May. The estimated change in employment for March was revised up as well. Despite the better-than-expected result, there's still weakness in employment. Goods-producing jobs fell for the 18th consecutive month, and manufacturing employment was down for the 21st straight time. Services-producing jobs picked up the slack, increasing by 77,000. A third release from the U.S. showed that the services sector expanded in May. The ISM non-manufacturing index came in at 51.7. It's the second month in a row it has been above the 50 boom-bust level after 3 months of contraction to start the year. The index was bolstered by a jump in new orders, which offset a decline in employment. After dipping during the European session, the dollar-yen pair clawed back some of those losses on the jobs and services data, along with better performance in equities compared to the European markets. The US dollar also continued its rally against the Canadian dollar, now in its 4th session. The greenback is now 300 pips higher than it was at its low of 0.9285 from last Thursday. Speculation is building that the Bank of Canada will lower rates in their next meeting. Today, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand will make its interest rate decision. This is followed tonight by Australia's trade balance. Overnight, Germany releases data on factory orders, and the UK will post its HBOS houses prices. Tomorrow morning, the Bank of England and the European Central Bank will decide on rates, with both expected to hold them steady. Therefore, attention will focus on the language that comes out of the meetings. The U.S. will post its weekly jobless claims, while Canada releases building permits and its IBPMI. And that wraps up the day in Forex news. Join us again tomorrow right here at cmsfx.com.